The question, "Am I going crazy?" echoes in many minds during moments of intense anxiety, stress, or when faced with experiences that challenge our usual understanding of reality. It's not a cry for attention, but a genuine reflection of the primal fear of losing control over oneself, of seeing one's sanity slip through one's fingers like fine sand. This script delves deeply into this universal fear, not to offer ready-made answers or simplistic diagnoses, but to explore the complexity of perception, the fragility of the human mind, and the fine line that sometimes seems to separate lucidity from disorder. Our focus lies in the subjective experience of this despair, in the personal experience of those who feel on the brink of a psychological abyss, where certainties dissolve, and the familiar becomes strange and threatening. The relevance of this journey lies in the empathy we can develop by understanding that this fear is not a weakness, but a manifestation of our inherent search for stability and understanding. How often, faced with an unexpected event, an overwhelming internal conflict, or a significant loss, have we found ourselves questioning our own capacity for reasoning, for judgment, for simply being okay? These are the moments that confront us with our vulnerability, with the realization that the foundations on which we build our identity and our worldview may be more fragile than we imagined. The script aims to be a mirror of these concerns, an invitation to look within and recognize that these feelings, however frightening, are part of the human experience in its entirety and complexity. The context that shapes this narrative is that of an ordinary individual, immersed in their daily lives, suddenly confronted by a trigger that unleashes an avalanche of doubts about their own sanity. This is largely not a pre-existing psychiatric condition, but rather a reaction to circumstances that overwhelm coping mechanisms. It could be the constant pressure of work, the instability of personal relationships, uncertainty about the future, or even physical manifestations of stress and anxiety that are interpreted catastrophically. The central problem is not madness itself, but the paralyzing fear that it is the cause of a mental state that feels increasingly uncontrollable and incomprehensible. The unique angle of this script lies precisely in exploring this intimate experience, focusing on the emotional and cognitive nuances that accompany this internal crisis, avoiding generalizations and delving into the particularity of each thought, each sensation. Throughout this exploration, we will uncover how the mind, in its attempt to protect the individual, can paradoxically create scenarios of panic and despair. We will explore how the interpretation of physical sensations or intrusive thoughts can escalate into a state of profound anguish, where reality itself becomes questionable. The journey will lead us to understand that the fear of losing control is, paradoxically, a sign that there is still a part of us fighting to maintain that control, a part that worries about what is happening and desperately searches for answers. The goal is to illuminate these inner shadows, not to eradicate them, but to understand them, to name the monsters that inhabit the darkest corners of our psyches. In doing so, we hope to offer a sense of validation and belonging to those who have felt lost in this labyrinth of uncertainty. The fragility of the mind is not a condemnation, but an intrinsic part of our humanity, and it is in this shared vulnerability that we find the strength to continue, to seek understanding, and perhaps to find a way to navigate the inner storms with a little more serenity and self-compassion. As we reflect on this journey of introspection, we realize how the threads we weave begin to converge, painting a clearer picture of the complexity of the human experience facing the fear of losing control. The various facets of this apprehension, which might previously have seemed isolated or fragmented, now reveal themselves to be interconnected, forming a tapestry where vulnerability and resilience are intrinsically intertwined. The way our perception shapes reality, and how this shaping can lead us to question the very solidity of what we consider normal, gains a new dimension when we observe the subtle interplay between external triggers and deeper internal reactions. It's as if we're navigating turbulent waters, where every wave of anxiety or intrusive thought threatens to destabilize our psychic vessel. However, by examining the underlying currents and understanding the dynamics of these waters, we begin to discern patterns, to anticipate the tides. This understanding doesn't eliminate the storm, but it equips us with a clearer map of the inner ocean, allowing us to adjust our sails and stay the course even amid uncertainty. The journey thus far has been precisely about deciphering this map, about recognizing that the warning signs, though frightening, also hold the keys to a deeper understanding of ourselves. At this point of convergence, it becomes clear that the struggle against the fear of going mad is, in many ways, a struggle to maintain one's personal narrative. It's an attempt to rewrite a script that for a moment seems to have spiraled out of our control, transforming chaos into a comprehensible plot. The way we interpret our internal states, the stories we tell ourselves about our most challenging experiences, all contribute to the construction of our perceived reality. The driving force behind this exploration has been precisely the need to recognize the agency we possess, even in the most oppressive circumstances, to give shape and meaning to our experiences. The landscape unfolding now, as we approach a conclusion,